Hi everyone, I want to talk about the Season 24 High GR group meta. So we have done a lot of testing and the PTR is almost over. We've seen a lot of very interesting stuff pop up with the ethereals and the new inner set. Unfortunately, inner doesn't seem good enough to be included in the high GRs, but it can definitely be a very solid choice for speedruns, and it will probably still get buffed a tiny bit. So there are definitely some variables that we don't know about yet because we don't have the final patch notes, but for now the Season 24 meta looks like it's gonna be a Witch Doctor season. Yes, it's gonna be Spirit Barrage again, just like in Season 20. The ethereals that the Witch Doctors have are extremely good, especially the one that works with this one, which is the Ariog's Needle. And this one gives 200% damage to Spirit Barrage, and that is actually a huge bonus, which puts the Spirit Barrage Witch Doctor roughly to the power level pre-nerf or so. And since Bone Spear is no longer gonna be used as the meta 4-man trash killer, Spirit Barrage was actually really close to being viable in Season 23 already, but Bone Spear just took the cake, and now with the ethereals and Bone Spear nerfs, it is actually gonna be the strongest trash killer in the game. But there is another option available, which is the Necromancer with Grim Scythe. So there's an LOD Grim Scythe build that has also been the meta in the past. I don't remember which season right now, but this is also a very strong contender. But after the testing we have done, and barring some insane buffs to Inner Monk, Witch Doctor is gonna be what's gonna be used, almost guaranteed. And you can run both setups. I think Witch Doctor especially shines a little bit higher paragon. So once you go above 2-3k paragons and have good gear and all that, then the Witch Doctor will eventually reach the point where you will obliterate 150s with ease. Because you can one-shot elites, you can one-shot big trash packs, and with the Grim Scythe Necro, first of all, it requires extremely precise group coordination because you need to move your Necros around, and it just doesn't really have the big boom potential that the Spirit Barrage Witch Doctor has. In case you want to see any guide or gameplay for this already, I do have a lot of videos about this from Season 20. The gameplay is plus minus the same, and it's just gonna be a very cool, very satisfying meta to play. Witch Doctor is definitely one of the best and the most fun metas that I have encountered, and I'm very happy to see it up there. For the Witch Doctor player, it is quite difficult because first of all, you are much squishier than you used to be in the past, because there is no Z-Monk anymore. You have a ZDH now for the extra damage, but a Z-Monk is definitely an option for the lower end when you're not that tanky yet, when you don't have high paragons and not really much main stat and all that, because that will actually help you to do proper rotations, which is much more important than the damage buffs that you gain from the ZDH. So there is definitely some viability for Z-Monk, but on the higher end you're not gonna run it. There is also a small chance that people are gonna do a triple support Witch Doctor setup for 4-man, because this one is able to one-shot, or rather two-shot the boss at 150. So the way this works is you need to make a really large pull when you're close to spawning, let's say 95% or something. You need to get a power pilot, need to have like 100 monsters stacked, and then you explode one phantasm, spawn the boss, and you have two more that you have used to accumulate during the cold convention phase with power pilot on 100 plus targets, and those will be enough to two-shot the boss. So this is what was used back in Season 20 at the end of the season, and it's quite likely that something like this will happen again at very high paragon, let's say 6000 plus. About 2 and 3-man meta, it is gonna be a bit different there, because the problem is that Spirit Barrage Witch Doctor has basically no single target damage whatsoever. So what I just explained about the boss damage is mostly coming from the fact that you can accumulate and multiply your damage in insane ways when you have large density, but on a single target boss, when you actually have to slowly stricken it down to death, you already have like 5-minute boss fights in solo pushing. So when you go into 3-man or something and you don't have a dedicated boss killer, you're literally gonna spend half the greater of time just trying to kill a boss, and you're most likely gonna fail anyway. So it will only really work when you do this one-shot thing, or when you have a dedicated boss killer. So for 2-man, Witch Doctor with Spirit Barrage is not really much of a thing, but Zunimasa might have a chance there. And other than that, there is actually Firebird's Wizard, which might just solo carry 2-man or 3-man, or it can be combined with just one support in 3-man and something like a Witch Doctor to kill the trash and do the big booms, and then the Firebird wizard will clean up all the elites and the boss. You're gonna see the whole meta overview very soon on Maxroll, so we are in the process of updating our guides and the meta posts and all that, but for now this is a little preview here, I guess. And I've also played the Necro here in our group, so I tried to make kind of a similar setup, and we tried to do similar tiers, and I was not really having that much experience with this Necro, so it was not going as smooth as it should be. But you can definitely see the damage is also there. There are also a bunch of 150 clears with Necro and also with Witch Doctors on the PTR. So once you reach the higher paragons and you have augments and all that, which I didn't have here at all, my gear was not really great. So in general, there is a lot more potential to increase the power of this character. So the way this setup works is that you have your two simulacrums and they swipe with their Scythe, and they will deal a lot of damage when there's a lot of targets stacked. So similar to the Witch Doctor, you want huge density to really deal damage. I'm gonna make a full guide for this at some point. Same for the Witch Doctor, that definitely deserves an update. But in the end, both of these are old builds and don't require a lot of new thought if you have already played them in the past. I would say that the Witch Doctor is both more fun and stronger than this, but in any case we're gonna see quite a lot of Scythe Necros anyway because of the red runs, where you can quite easily gear them. Red runs are insane for loot, insane for XP, and especially for tool assistant groups, this is probably the way to go anyway for the XP farming. So we're gonna see them, but Witch Doctor will take the crown. And this already touches the worst downside of the Witch Doctor. It is definitely quite difficult to play, but also it is very difficult to gear, because there is not really any speed meta that includes the Witch Doctor. You can make it work. I've shown this with Zunimasa. I've also tried a bit with Mundunugu, but it is not quite the same compared to God the Age, Bombardment, Firebirds, all that. And it's kind of hard to just stick a Witch Doctor in there and perform equally. So either you will have to make some concessions and stick a Witch Doctor in some of those groups and just accept that you get like maybe 10% less XP per hour or so, or you have to grind those really slow high GR runs. Spirit Barrage Witch Doctor, especially once you have a good team for it, can definitely farm GR150s reliably and not ever fail any of those runs, but they are slow, they require a lot of time, and you don't really gear up so quickly. So especially at the start of the season, I believe you're not going to see a lot of them, especially with ethereals being so impactful, which will be much more readily available for people running rats. But I believe that at the latest, a few weeks into the season, we're going to see a lot of Witch Doctors popping up that have slowly been gearing up over time and also gained more paragons to actually make it more convenient to play that setup. Personally, I'm very excited for the Witch Doctor here. So this is kind of the surprise winner of this season because of the nerf to Bone Spear and Heron's Fury Crusader, and also just the way that the ethereals turn out. But it is definitely one of the coolest, and I'm really glad that it's gonna see some more action this time around. Even though Witch Doctors didn't get any buffs or anything, turns out it was enough, and even Zunimasa is not looking that bad. It's gonna be one of the best solo pushing builds in the game. It's gonna be very hard to play, unfortunately, and it might actually be one of the top 2-man metas as well. So very exciting times ahead. When the time comes for the Season 24 guides, I will definitely have an updated version for Spirit Barrage already, and I'll also be talking about the Scythe Necro, because that will also be played quite a lot. Apart from that, there are some other trash killers for 150 available, so we can play a few more Necro builds. One is the Bone Spear again, one is Death Nova, and there's also Corpse Explosion on the Necro alone. For the other classes, there are also some options. For example, Wizard can do Twister and Firebirds. Twister, you have to be very careful with the lags. Same goes for Firebirds too, but theoretically it is quite doable with both of those. And at the very high end, we might also see some inner monk gameplay, especially if there are going to be some fixes to area damage, or if there's going to be some kind of buff to the inner monk in general. So this is what I have to share for now. Stay tuned for the guides and the other upcoming Season 24 PTR videos, and hope you liked this little overview here. See you guys next time.